I think, because everywhere here, at least in the US, and I'm sure maybe in other parts of the world, everybody has been celebrating or want to celebrate the Aradhana Day of Swamis by having 108 names, by offering akshata or white rice, which they collect and do Narayan Seva, which has been a practice now for some years. And it somehow led me to think about all of the answers are there in his 108 names. These are all the divine qualities of the Almighty. Doesn't matter which religion we belong to. These are all facets of the Lord, and we have been very fortunate to have had Swami amongst us. And we have seen those facets of his, many of us, in many different ways. So somehow that idea came along while speaking. And last week, we spoke about the most wonderful, one of the most wonderful devotees of Swami, Sri Ramabrahma Garu, and other episodes, which made us realize that what is there to fear when Swami himself has said, why fear when I am here? It is up to us to connect with him and feel that connection with him. So having spoken about that, before I go on, I would like to wish everybody a very happy Easter. And remembering Jesus Christ today. Today was also the day some years ago in 2011 when Swami left his physical form on Easter Sunday. So it happens to be a day for a lot of introspection too. Swami's message of love and service and Jesus's message of love and sacrifice and service is not at all different. They are one and the same. And I would like to wish everybody a very happy Easter today as well. While I was getting ready, I was thinking, I wonder what Swami would like me to say today, especially since it is Easter. We want to think of our brothers and sisters who are Christians, who are practicing Christians, and all of us who love the message of Jesus as well. And I was thinking how I can connect that with what I have seen of Swami and his love and respect and loving a welcome to everybody into his fold, whoever they may be. And as I was thinking and getting ready this morning, I thought of two people who had never heard of Swami, but whom Swami welcomed with a lot of love. These were my two teachers in school. One of the names that we all say when we say the 108 names is Sarvamata Sammataya Namaha. One who is the Lord for people of all religions. One who is there for everybody in every religion. Sarvamata Sammataya Namaha. We say it, of course, we sing many Sarvadharma bhajans in our centers. In fact, we make it a point to make sure that there is a bhajan there where all of these religions are sung about. So I was thinking about this morning, and suddenly in my mind's eye, I could see two teachers of mine. One was a teacher. I studied in an American Protestant school in Bangalore, actually. So there was prayers in the morning before classes, and then we went to our classes. And in that school, in my third grade, there was a teacher called Miss Mary Grant. She was married, Mrs. Mary Grant. And she was a wonderful teacher. She was a very loving person. She was my third grade teacher. And we all loved her a lot. She was quite a devout Christian. And many times in the course of the class, she would tell us some parable or the other of Jesus. We all liked her very much, as young children love their teachers. And Mrs. Grant was a part of my life for a whole year. My father in Bangalore was quite a well-known dental surgeon, Dr. Padmanabhan. And my father himself was a person that I looked up to, not maybe so much as my father, as somebody who was someone who always just liked to do service. His reason for being in Swami's fold and serving at Swami's feet for almost 65 years was Swami's message of service that appealed to his heart. So my father was a well-known dentist. He practiced, he had a very huge practice in Bangalore. I remember as children, my father had 3 dental chairs. 3 people would be sitting. The back room would be for some of the VIPs who would come and he would sit there. The front hall would be full. The patients would be all the way down up to the street waiting outside. And my father came to his practice at 8 in the morning and didn't leave till 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon, and saw every single person that came with pain or wanted to see him. These were, of course, the younger days, early days, 60s and 70s in Bangalore. Not many people had phones. So if they had come without appointments. My father saw anybody and everybody who came to him in pain. But that was not the only thing that he was known for. He did not charge most of the people that he came. He didn't charge consulting fees. He didn't charge teachers because they taught people, they shared knowledge. He didn't charge policemen or people working in government services because he said that they were serving the people. So he had no business charging them. He did not charge religious people, leaders of religious communities who came, because he said they are spreading the love of God to the communities around them. So most of the people who came were treated free from him. In fact, it's a surprise. I don't know how he managed to look after us and feed us and clothe us, but that's how my father completed his practice. Swami would always come, and whenever he came to our house for dinner, he would always come and sit in my father's one of the dental chairs and bless him and get up and then come inside the house. So maybe that was the reason why my father was able to earn enough to look after all of us, because 90% of the patients that he came to him, he did not charge. So Mrs. Grant, who was my teacher, developed some toothache. And I was a little kid in 3rd grade, and she told me, can you ask your father if he can treat me if I come with you one of the days to his practice? But you must not forget him that I cannot afford to pay him too much money. I was a little kid, I didn't understand much. And I said, I will tell my father. I was very excited, in fact, that a teacher of mine wanted to come to see my father. So I came and told my father, and my father said, you ask her to come tomorrow afternoon after school, 3:30, you bring her if she doesn't know. She lived in a place called Coxtown in Bangalore. She was not very familiar with South Bangalore where my father practiced. So she came with me, and my father was very kind. My father was a very kind and soft-spoken person. He spoke to her very nicely, and of course there was the added love because she was also my teacher. And he spoke to her and attended to her needs in his clinic. And when it was over, when she came out, she had noticed that in the couple of rooms that my father had, there was Swami's picture hanging there. She was not familiar with Swami at all. This again was in the late 60s, mid 60s. So she looked at the picture and she happened to ask my father, who is this person in this picture that you have? And she knew that it was not obviously a family member because there was a garland of flowers on Swami's picture. So my father, of course, very politely explained that he was our master, spiritual master, and that we had been his devotees for a long time. And she said, where is he? She was familiar with names like Rama and Krishna, being in Bangalore. So who is this? I have not heard of him. So he told him, this is Sathya Sai Baba. He is there now. His ashram is in Whitefield in Bangalore, in East Bangalore. So she asked a few questions to my father about him, and she was a little skeptical, and she thought it was strange that an educated man like my father seemed to believe in this kind of a thing. And as she was talking, she happened to ask my father that my husband has been very ill. He seems to have a lot of congestion, not very different from what are the stories we are hearing now of people suffering. And the doctor has asked to come in the next few days for some x-rays. They think that he may have tuberculosis, doctor. Do you know of a good doctor, a good pulmonologist who would treat him? Because we both are ordinary. He's a teacher as well in St. Joseph's European High School, and we cannot afford to pay a lot. Do you know of any doctors? So my father gave her a couple of names, I think, of the doctors. But I, who was standing nearby in the waiting room while this conversation was on, piped up loudly and said, oh, you know that picture we were just talking about? We call him Swami. Why don't you take some vibhuti and give it to your husband? Mrs. Grant, So she said, what is that? And again, my father, who was a little embarrassed at me spouting out this suddenly out of the blue, said, this is Vibhuti, holy ash that we all believe in and we take. And after a little, I kept on pestering her as a childhood teacher, saying, no, no, you must take it. You must give it to Mr. Grant. He will become all right. He will become all right. So my father reluctantly, I think, gave her a packet of Vibhuti which Swami had given my father and said, if you want, you can use it. And I think very quietly he told her, please don't feel pressured. She's very excited about this. So she took the Vibhuti and I went up to the bus stop with her. And I kept on telling her, Mrs. Grant, you give the Vibhuti to your husband. He will become okay. And she was a very kind teacher. And she said, okay, I will give it to him. After all, what bad would come out of it? So she took it with her. So a few days went by, school went on. And after a couple of days, the lady again, the teacher called me again aside. And she said, can I come back and see your father again? Will you find out? So again, second visit she came. My father had scheduled some treatment for her. So she came again. And in that meeting, she was very rattled because she said that first set of x-rays had come out with tuberculosis. But suddenly now, in the next 2 or 3 days, she had actually given some Vibhuti. And suddenly when they had asked him to come back for another set of x-rays, he did not show any tuberculosis in the x-ray. Not only that, he seemed to be recovering and his congestion was gone. He had stopped coughing. And you know, in those days, TB was quite a serious thing. People had to be isolated and there were not that many facilities in Bangalore. So she was very rattled by what had happened. And she told my father that I'm really very surprised at what has happened. Is it possible to come and see the spiritual master of yours? So my father said, okay, the following weekend on Sunday, we go there every week and you can come with us if you like on Sunday. We will pick you up on the way to Whitefield. And then she called my father again the next day and said, I have a very good friend of mine. She would also like to come. We are very, very close friends. And I have been telling her what has happened and she's kind of not believing me. But at the same time, she doesn't want to disbelieve me. So she wants to come and see for herself. Can she come? So my father said, that is fine. So the following Sunday, my father, my mother, myself, we went and on the way in Coxtown, picked her up. And we picked up and to my surprise, it was Miss Wesley. Her name was Grace Wesley, who would have been next year, she would be my 4th grade teacher. Miss Wesley and Miss Grant were very, very close friends. And Miss Wesley was an unmarried lady. She was from Kerala. She lived by herself, in fact, in the accommodation provided by our school. And she also joined us. And she also said hello. We all knew each other being in the school. And she came along with us to Brindavan, to Whitefield, to Brindavan. And when we went in there, Swami came out for darshan as usual. And after the darshan was over, my father followed Swami inside and we were waiting for my father to come out to return home. Then suddenly my father came running out and said, Swami is asking you ladies, all of you to come inside to inside the building, inside the old bungalow. So we went in and my mother was trying to explain to these 2 ladies that it was indeed their good fortune and it was very rare that people got called for an interview by him, but they were quite calm. They didn't know much about Swami. They had not read anything. They came. And they had seen that Swami had gone inside the gate and Swami had told my father near the gate and he had come running to call us. As soon as we went inside the interview room, Swami looked at Mrs. Grant and said, Mary, how are you? So she was very taken aback that Swami addressed her by her name. She knew that my father or nobody had had time to tell Swami her name. And then he turned to Miss Wesley and said, and you, Grace, how are you? So both of them looked a little surprised and Swami spoke to them very lovingly and said that both of you are doing a lot of service by teaching the children very lovingly. Swami did not bring himself into the picture. He said, your Jesus that you pray, he is very happy with you. So both Teachers were a little taken aback but very moved because he had spoken about Jesus. And then Swami spoke to them for a few minutes and then looked at Miss Grant again and said, your husband's tuberculosis has gone away. He doesn't have tuberculosis anymore. You don't have to worry. This shocked her even further because he had not been able to work because of his sickness for so many days and they had been surviving on one person's salary. So they were having difficulties, financial difficulties, and Swami said, don't worry, in about 2 weeks, the doctors will give him the green signal to go back to work. He doesn't have TB anymore, he said. And then looking at Miss Grace Wesley, he said, how is Joseph? And she said, Swami, and she said, sir, I think she addressed him as, sir, what did you say? And Swami said, your brother Joseph, is he not a pastor in Kerala? And she said, yes, he is a pastor. So Swami said, how is he doing? He is very good with the devotees who come to the church and he does a lot of service through the church, Swami said. And suddenly starting to move his hand in the familiar gesture which we are familiar with, they were not. Swami at the same time materialized 2 crosses. One cross had the crucifixion on it. It was a small brass kind of a golden looking cross. And he gave it to Miss Wesley. And he said, this was the cross that your grandfather, who was also the pastor of the same church, he had given it to your brother. He had wanted to give it to your brother, but he passed away before giving it to him. And nobody could find it. Here it is. You can give this to your brother. That lady started to cry because she was very familiar with the cross, but everybody had searched and they could not find that cross which the grandfather had promised the grandson on becoming a pastor. And now here it was. She recognized it because at the back of the cross was her grandfather's name written. And the second cross that Swami had materialized, a small little silver cross, and gave it to Miss Grant and said, did you not lose this in church when you were a small girl and you used to sing in the choir? Here it is. So both of them were completely taken aback and they both bowed down to Swami and they said they kept thanking him. Both of them had tears in their eyes. They were unable to process what had happened in such a short time. And after that, Swami looked at me, who was there, and said, see, they are very good teachers. They do a lot of service by teaching the children. And they do it selflessly with a lot of love. That is why wherever, whichever form that you worship, it always hears the prayers of these people. So this morning when I was thinking about, for some reason, after many, many years, I remembered Miss Grant and Miss Wesley, who were my teachers, who were examples of service. Excuse for my emotional presentation. But Sarvamata Sammataya Namaha, we all sing bhajans without realizing the meaning of that, words that we utter in our daily lives. So in times like this, when we think about Swami or any form that we praise, we have to realize that it is the way of life that we are leading. The kind of life that we are leading is what brings the response from that divine energy. If we are leading a life the way Swami expects us to, if we are saying things, doing things and seeing things the way Swami expects us to do, then definitely at some point in our life that connection happens. Swami always says the positive and the negative, only when it connects the light comes on. That connection will happen. So this Sarvamata Sammataya Namaha is such a powerful name or facet of that divine, where he is able to answer to any form. It is just that we think that, and we confine him to a certain form and think that he will only respond to that form. But the question, I suppose, that one must ask ourselves is how we are calling out to that form. In what way are we called? There is a beautiful song that many of you may have heard, Achyutam Keshavam. In that song, it says in Hindi that you complain that the Lord is not taking your offerings and eating the food that you are offering him. But are you calling out and trying to feed him like Shabari? You say that Shabari, the great lady saint in the Ramayana. Are you calling out like Mirabai when you complain that he is not coming to you? So these are some of the questions we have to ask ourselves when we call out and complain that he is not responding to us. Sometimes he may be responding, but we may not even know that he is responding because we are not connecting to him. I have told this particular experience, which is a very touching experience of mine, many times. Many of you may have heard it, and if I am repeating it and you feel that I am repeating it, I would ask you for your forgiveness. But it is worth remembering it only because we all go to our center activities, our prayers at home, and in many ways we do many things, but we don't focus, including me. I am not putting myself. Out of the 108 names that I chant every morning, if at least I can connect to one name with the yearning that one should have, then definitely I would see some response. I want to tell this story again. Those of you who have heard, it would be a repetition. But at the same time, the glory of the Lord, however many times we listen to it, it should still spark that wonder within us. So this was my 25th wedding anniversary. Swami had performed my marriage in Vrindavan in 1978. And it was my wedding anniversary, 25th one. So my husband and I, we were going to New York for to see a Broadway show that I had wanted to see for some time. And before that, this was in the month of December. In June, I had gone to India, and Swami had called me for an interview. And in that interview, my husband was not present. He had materialized some vibhuti and given it to me. Many times he says, eat it, eat it. But that particular time, he said, you take it to America with you. And he went to the window and took a small piece of paper, and he himself took my wrist and put the vibhuti into the piece of paper, shook it off of my hand, folded it very lovingly and gave it to me and said, take it to America. So I thought, okay, Swami is asking me to take it to my husband because he is not there. So I brought it to my room and I put it very safely in my purse, put a zip so that I would not lose it. I had just arrived in Bangalore, so I spent about 4 weeks in Bangalore and came back to the US. When I came to the US and I looked for that vibhuti to give my husband, I could not find it. I turned my purse upside down and I still could not find it. And my husband was not very happy with me. He said, you had the interview, but you didn't even bring the vibhuti carefully. I said, no, I had kept it here. I don't know what happened. So anyway, the vibhuti was not found. Now in December, we went to New York, and this, I had, before going to the Broadway show, we had gone to the Ganesh temple there, so that because it was our wedding anniversary. And from the Ganesh temple, we went to the Broadway show. And it was a beautiful show, and somewhere in between, in the intermission, I got up and went to use the ladies' room, the washroom. And when I was washing my hands, let's all remember to wash it very well now. When I was washing my hands, there was a Hispanic lady who was just wiping down the bathroom, the sinks and everything. And she kept staring at me, and I felt a little uncomfortable. I thought she was staring at me because I was wearing Indian clothes. And I just continued to wash my hands. And suddenly she looked at me. She didn't speak English very well. She said, "You India?" She asked me. So I said, "Yes, I'm from India." And then after a few seconds, she again looked at me and she said, "No, somebody called Sai Baba?" She asked me. So immediately my ears pricked up and I said, "Yes, I know Sai Baba. How do you know Sai Baba?" She said, "I don't know him. I'm a Catholic Christian from Argentina." I work here and I pray to my Lord Jesus, she said. I said, okay, very happy. And I was kind of in a rush to get back inside and I didn't know where this conversation was going. Then she suddenly said, you have something called booty? She asked. So I said, I guessed that she was saying vibhuti. And I said, yes, let me look. Because normally I have some vibhuti packets in my purse. And I thought, and I started to look and I said, why are you asking for this? And this lady said, my child, who is 7 years old or 8 years old, she is in the hospital with both her kidneys have failed. She requires kidney transplant. I don't have money or medical insurance to pay for this. I have to work here. So I have been praying to my Lord Jesus every day now for many months. I can't stay with her, be with her in the hospital because I have to work. So I have been praying to him, but nothing much has happened. But suddenly 4 days ago, a man in an orange robe and curly hair came and said that there will be an Indian lady at your work. She has booty, he said, in my dream, and you take it from her, your daughter will be better. I don't know who this man is, she said. I don't know who he is. So I asked him, who are you? He said, my name is Sai Baba. That was my dream on the first day. It was a strange dream. I had never seen this person in my life. I did not know who he was. I just thought I had some strange dream. I came to work. There was no Indian lady. So I convinced myself that this is again some strange dream. But for the past 4 days, every day he is coming in the same dream, in the same way and telling me the same thing. And today I see an Indian lady here. This is my workplace. So I'm asking you, are you from India? You say yes. I'm asking you, do you have booty? What is booty? I don't know. He told me it is white powder in the dream. Do you have that? So now at this point, I'm very rattled. I'm searching desperately inside my purse to see if I can find a packet of vibhuti for this lady. I told her it's called vibhuti. She said, do you have? Because 4 days I'm getting this dream. You say you know Sai Baba. You say you are from India. And you say you have white powder. Please, can you give it to me? And she was rattled as well because all this while she kept thinking it was a dream. So I opened the pouch in my thing again, looking for vibhuti packet. And lo and behold, right in that place, in that little zippered pocket of my purse, I found the vibhuti packet that Swami had given to me in June. I was so taken aback because we had searched the whole purse for my husband. Obviously, it was not meant for him. That Sai Mother, that Sai Jesus had knew this mother's prayer almost 6 months before. So he had given it to me then and told me, you take it to America. As soon as I saw it, I knew that this vibhuti was meant for this woman. So I gave it to her and I said, please take it and give it. I wish you luck. I hope your daughter feels better. And by the time I came back into the hall, the intermission was over. Everybody was sitting and everybody was quite irritated because I had to make my way to my seat. And I tried to whisper to my husband, who said, don't talk now because you're disturbing everybody. And the whole program got over. We were driving back to Washington, D.C., where I live in Maryland. I live in Laurel, Maryland. And we were driving back and I told my husband what had happened. And I was also at the back of my mind very gleefully telling him, see, you got upset with me, but the vibhuti was never meant for you. It was for that lady. He knew that some devotee of the Lord, whatever name you may call him by, she would need it. So my husband, the ever practical one, said, did you take her phone number? We could have referred her to some doctors that we know, or we could have helped her in some way. I said, no, I didn't think of taking the number. But anyway, that Lord himself, Vaidyo Narayano Harihi, he himself is the Vaidya. He himself is the doctor. Before itself, he has guessed what she will need. She will become okay. So I came back home and every day in my prayers, I used to pray for that child. For some months, I prayed, please Swami, take care of that child and that woman. She's in financial difficulty. She has mental anguish. It's a small child. She has nobody to leave the child with even while she goes to work. please take her. For a while I prayed. And as we all do, as the days go by, we also forget. We forget our thoughts of that person and we move on to the next thing in our life. And I did the same. So this was December. The following year in July, almost 7 months after this incident, I went to Parthi, and Swami, with his grace, called my whole family for an interview. And as soon as we sat down, Swami closed the door, came towards his chair, and he looked at me and said, "Transplant emi vaddule." No need of transplant for the child. She didn't need the transplant. I said, "Swami, in New York?" He said, "Yes, in New York. I sent the vibhuti, didn't I, with you?" So I said, "Swami," she said she was a Catholic Christian from Argentina. He said, "For her, she is a Catholic Christian. For me, everybody is my child. How does it matter in what name, by what name you call? It doesn't matter by what name you call. You are giving the name and form. The divine energy does not have any name or form because he resides in everyone. He can hear the prayers from within. You are giving the name and form," he said, "but the child is all right," he said. So this was again a Christian lady. There were my two Christian teachers who were wonderful, loving teachers, whose prayers at home, in whatever way they prayed, in whatever way they did service, that Lord could hear their prayers. And as I was thinking about this, one other person also comes to my mind. As a Balavikas guru, as a teacher, when I became a Balavikas teacher, Balavikas guru in India, I was young and I was very excited to be doing Swami's work. I was quite young when I started as a guru. And one of the things that I thought was some of the other older teachers, as all youngsters think, that these older teachers are all very boring. They keep telling the same stories, the same slokas, the same prayers. They keep teaching. At that time, still the Balavikas program was still new. So everybody would sit together and there was a certain format and everybody followed that format. So whenever we went for any guru's training, I always used to say, we have to make it more interesting. The children will get bored because I was one of the youngest teachers. So one of the things, now it is very common, which I am very happy. But in those days, it was not very common, especially in a city like Bangalore. I decided that I would take my whole Balavikas class to different places of worship. So we started with the church. The church was very welcoming. I went and met the pastor. I said, "I'm going to bring about 27 children. Can they come and attend? And can you give a talk to them?" And he took the time and told some stories because it was a mixed group of children from 6 years to 14, 15 years old. So he told them stories from the Bible. They were very loving and the children enjoyed their field trip to the church. Then the next, I think, following month, we went, actually Bangalore has a lot of Parsis. So we went to one of the temples there. So we went to different places of worship. One of the places which was not very easy to take the children, especially we had girls and boys, was a masjid. So I was wondering how to do this. When I went and met one of the mullahs, I had a Muslim classmate called Ruxana, my friend in school. So I asked her, "Can you ask your father when he goes for his prayers to the masjid, if we can bring our children to show them how a masjid looks? And can I bring my children there?" So my friend Ruxana talked to her father. He was a devout Muslim. So they went there. And they took permission and they said that if they don't come during the times of the prayer, when the prayers are going on at a separate time. And I had requested that the mullah should tell very briefly about Islam and also maybe one or two stories because they were young children. So I took them there. When I took them there, this particular mullah was a very nice person, very nicely he spoke to the children. He spoke in English very well to the children and with a mixture of Kannada also. And he was speaking there. When during that conversation, I introduced myself and for some reason, I don't know how it came about, I told him that my father was a doctor. And because he asked us where we did these classes, and I said my father was a doctor. We had a place there in his clinic upstairs where I was doing the Balavikas. The minute I said doctor, that gentleman asked me, I have a very sick son. Will your father see him? He said. I think he was a little hesitant because he was a Muslim person. He was not very sure, and a mullah, that whether my father would see. I said, what is wrong with your son? My father is a dental surgeon, but he can introduce you to other doctors. So he came that day along with me. The masjid was not very far from our house. I took him to my father, and my father suggested some doctors to him because that we didn't know what was wrong with his son. Anyway, the mullah went away, and I think after some time he sent word through my friend Ruxana's father that the child was doing better. The boy had recovered from whatever it was that he had. Many years went by, and in 2004, this one young man called Pasha, he came to our house as the driver for my father's car. Now my father was getting a little older. He would drive to Vrindavan twice every day to take care of Swami. He would be there at 6 in the morning by the time Swami comes down. And then again come back home, or sometimes stay back for lunch with Swami, if Swami told him to. Then come back and go back again at 3 o'clock. And after Swami's dinner, he used to come back. So it was getting a little difficult for him to drive. So he asked for a driver, and this young fellow came. His name was Pasha. And my father said, will you drive me? But you have to wait till 8 o'clock. It will be 8 o'clock till you come. He said, no, sir, I will take you. Where do you go? Because my father was an older person. He said, where do you go till 8 o'clock? He said, I go to the ashram. Are you okay with coming? Because this was a Muslim boy. He was wearing his cap and everything. Are you okay to take me? He said, no problem, sir. I will take you. So every day this Pasha would take my father to Vrindavan and come. He would park the car and stand far away. He, of course, did not participate in the bhajans or anything. But from a distance, he would see Swami and he would come. He was a very good driver. Many people said, oh, he's not coming in. My father would say, leave him alone. He has his own beliefs. He is bringing me and taking me back. He was a very good driver. In 2006, when I went to India for a visit, I was in Puttaparthi, and Swami told me, I am going to Kodaikanal. You come to Kodaikanal. So I suddenly left with my mother to Kodaikanal. And there I had another experience of an old Balavikas student. But anyway, I spent 4 days in Kodaikanal. Swami was very kind to me, gave me a room and everything. And I stayed there in Kodaikanal. And on the last day, I told him, Swami, this afternoon I'm leaving back for Bangalore because I had to return to the US. Swami was very sweet, and he said, on the way, don't just go to Bangalore, you go to Madurai and you go and have darshan of Madurai Meenakshi temple. You have darshan there. And then if you come outside, there is a very nice Madurai society for cotton saris. You buy some nice cotton saris there. You do your shopping there and you go, he told me. I said, okay, Swami, I will do that. And as I took Pada Namaskar, suddenly Swami said, you call that Muslim driver. So we were inside, and this Pasha was outside somewhere. I had to run outside and look for him. And as soon as he saw me, he came. I said, Swami is calling you. Will you come inside? I was very I didn't know whether he will refuse to come in, because he never used to come to the bhajans or anything, though he had seen, he's calling you, you come. So this Pasha said, it's okay, Ma, I'll come. And he came, and he did not do namaskar or anything. He just stood there, and Swami spoke to him in Urdu. And he said that you are not taking your medicines properly. Why are you not taking your medicine properly? You are just going to the masjid, you are fasting during Ramadan and all of those things, but you are not taking your medicine properly. If you don't take your medicine properly, it doesn't matter how good the doctor is, it will not get better. This boy looked very shocked. Nobody knew that he had been skipping his medication, whatever it was. We didn't know that he was in. And then he said, have you forgotten? It is Amma's father who sent you as a small child to that doctor. And after that, you have gone to other doctors. This is the same Amma whose father sent you to the doctor. We did not know that he was the son of that same mullah. Somebody brought him and said he was a driver. My father had hired him. The boy and I, everybody looked even more shocked. He said, be a good boy. He was about 25 or 20, 24 years old, I think. Be a good boy, drive safely and take your medicine. Swami said and sent him on. So, Sarvamata Sammataya Namaha. We can never forget these incidents. When I say these names, all these people come in front of my eyes when I say it. This is not just a name to take some rice and put it on a picture and then make it into Narayan Seva Prasad. These names have power. These names respond when we do it with the kind of sincerity. This boy was a very sincere boy. His father was a very devout Muslim. So Swami in this form responded because he was an only child of that father. You should get good health and take care of your elderly parents, Swami told him. So this is the Swami that we are all so fortunate to have with us. He is there. But then the question will always come, then why is there so many difficulties, so many things that are happening in this world? Lots of things happen in this world, good and bad. Swami says life is an interval between pleasure and pain. Both of these things happen. This is not in our control, but the thing that is in our control is to have faith, to have love, and to work very, very sincerely. Whatever work that we take into our life to do it in a way that we are useful to other people. For this, my father himself was an example to me. As I told you earlier in the beginning, he didn't charge 90% of the patients that he came. But we were never wanting for anything in our house. Because when he served with so much love and served with a sense of sacrifice and tried to live his life the way Swami asked him to live his life, we were not short of anything. We were comfortable. He looked after us very well. And my father's slogan always, even when we were children, was, give as less trouble as you can to Swami and do as much as you can for Swami. So he never allowed us to go with all our petty problems to Swami. Swami, I have exams. Swami, I have... If Swami asked us, when is your exam? Then we would tell him. But my father never allowed us to go and tell him all our small worldly problems. He would say that he has come for a higher purpose. Use Swami's presence in your life for a higher purpose. My father would always say that, and we would watch him do his work with the kind of sincerity, without much expectation for anything that he did. He never asked Swami for anything personal himself. So as he was leading this kind of a life, my Swami asked my father, at that time, the Sai organization did not have the service part of it yet. Other than Narayan Seva, all the kind of service now that the Sathya Sai organization is doing, that Swami started, the hospitals, the water projects, it had not yet started in those days. So my father was very much a service-oriented person. So Swami asked him to join the Rotary organization to serve the community in Bangalore through the organization. So my father served for many, many years and did many things for the community in Bangalore through the organization. So while he was a part of this organization, there was a lady who came from Australia. Her name was Alice Jennings. She came in 1965 to Bangalore as a tourist and as a part of one of the Rotary conventions. She had come. And my father and mother hosted her in our house. She was a teacher and we didn't know, the Rotary organization asked my parents to host her. Very nice lady. I was a small child, I remember. She stayed in our house. And of course, our house was full of Swami's picture. And she asked, and we all used to talk to her about Swami. She also saw how much my mother and my father were doing through the organization. And my parents were also running a destitute home for women and an orphanage at the same time. So she went and saw all of these things. These were private things that my parents were doing separately. When she saw all of those things, she stayed with us and then she went away. This was in 1965, and she made 2 or 3 more trips again, and each time she stayed with us. I think one of the trips, my parents even took her to Whitefield, and she saw Swami from a distance. Swami did not talk to her or anything. She saw him and she went back. Suddenly, in 2003 or 4, I think, I'm not sure of the exact date now. It was almost 35 years, they said, after this. Of course, my brother told me this. I was not present in Bangalore. After 35 years, suddenly my brother, who also was working through the Rotary organization, received a letter from some family in Australia, and he just opened the letter because it was a foreign letter, and that letter was addressed to my father, who was by that time an older person. My brother, it came, but the envelope had my brother's name because my brother was working for the Rotary, and they said in that if this is the Dr. Prithvi Raval, which is my brother, is the son of Dr. Padmanabhan, then this letter is for him. We have tried to locate this person. We are the grandchildren of Alice Jennings, and I don't think, I think they were the grandchildren of Alice Jennings, and we would like to contact you. My brother did not know who Alice Jennings was. So he wrote back to them, and they wrote back, and I think they contacted him, and they said that we are the relatives of Alice Jennings, and she passed away recently, some months ago, and her will was read. She was quite a wealthy woman, and she, in that will, has mentioned a Dr. R.S. Padmanabhan, who worked in the Rotary for the community in 1965. She was hosted by them. They were also devotees of Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and they were doing a lot of community service. If you are the same person, so my brother said, yes, that is my father. He's still there. My father is still alive. And so they said that this lady has left $100,000 for any community service that he would like to do of his choice through the Rotary organization that he would like to do. And my brother said, all right, we will talk to them. And there's some amount of discussion went on. And finally, the whole family of this Alice Jennings came from Australia, and they donated the $100,000 to Rotary in my father's name to be used in the school for poor students, to build the building, to do the tables and the chairs and whatever the school required, and also for other projects. And in that note, she had written that I was so impressed by the life that this man led, based on the message of his spiritual master, that I feel that this money will be put to good use. So whatever we do, that is why Swami says, your life is my message. How we lead our lives will also bring the response from that divine. Whoever thought that some lady who had come in 1965 will give so much money, to be used in the school, where all these poor children in one of the slums of Bangalore could make use of. Now the school is a wonderful school. It is a state-of-the-art school. It has all the computers and everything. And these children are very, very poor children who are getting the best of education. So that is how Swami comes in various ways through us. He makes us his instruments, as long as we try to practice what he says, to practice the words and to take it seriously and try to inculcate it in our daily life. We can see his presence in many ways in our life. One of the names, again, I think I'm going back to the names over and over, but one of the beautiful names which we all love very much is Prematmane Namaha, or we say Priyaya Namaha, one who is the beloved of everyone. Everybody loves Swami. Who doesn't love him? Everyone who sees that beautiful form in Parthi or in Vrindavan, our eyes are riveted. We don't even want to move our eyes in any direction. This is the Swami we love. Are we the only person who love him? Even the animals, those of us who have seen the deer and the rabbits in Vrindavan that Swami had, they would all congregate the minute they saw his orange form come out of the bungalow or from the Trai Vrindavan, they would all come. The one devotee of Swami again, who loved Swami, who loved the form of Swami, is that wonderful elephant called Sai Gita. What an evolved soul that elephant was. The only focus that elephant had was the love for Swami. I remember as a child, of course, that Sai Gita came to Parthi sometime in the early 60s as a small motherless baby elephant. It came to Parthi. As children, my cousins and I, we would follow Sai Gita to the Chitravati river where there was one Mahut, or the person who looked after Sai Gita. His name was Murli. He used to look after that elephant, and after a lot of taking a bath and everything, this was a baby elephant. It would take all the sand in the Chitravati river and pour the sand over itself again. Again, poor Murli would take it to the water and get it clean because he wanted to bring it to the mandir by about 7 o'clock, by the time Swami comes out for darshan. Because the routine in those days was every morning the Sai Gita would go around the mandir 3 times as a baby elephant. We would all follow, like Pied Piper of Hamelin. We would follow Sai Gita, small little elephant. And then it would stand there waiting to garland Swami. And when Swami came out of the mandir, in those days he was living in that Prashanti mandir itself, he would come out. Sai Gita would be the first one who would approach Swami, and it would garland. It was like a small child. The minute it saw Swami, it would try to rush to Swami and garland Swami. This Sai Gita, I have watched it since my own childhood. In fact, Swami used to tease me. I named you Gita, but don't become like Gita physically. Only from your heart you become like Gita, Sai Gita. Don't become like her in your body. Don't put on so much weight. He would joke with me. So this Gita would stand there, this Sai Gita. In those days, now we have Brother Vedanarayanan and all of the Veda group. The minute when Swami used to come out, they would immediately start the Veda chanting, and immediately everybody's face would turn. We know that Swami has come out. That is how the indication would come that Swami has come as soon as the Veda would start. That is how in those days, when the Veda started, that's how they started to do it. But before that, there used to be no Veda chanting or anything. Everybody would sit very, very, very quietly in the mandir. Of course, no cell phones, nothing was there. We all used to sit very quietly, contemplating, waiting for Swami anxiously. He has to come. The way we used to get the indication that Swami has come down from the upstairs room to the downstairs room, the interview room, the door would still be closed. Swami's robe or Swami was not visible anywhere. But immediately we would all nudge each other. Swami is coming, Swami is coming. How did we know? I don't know what sixth sense this elephant had. It would stand there where now the Veda people sit in Prashanti Nilayam. You are all familiar. There used to be a circle there. The Veda people used to sit inside the circle and chant Vedas in the old days. The Veda circle. The Sai Gita used to stand there. And the door was not open. It has not seen Swami, but I don't know how it would know. Its big ears would suddenly straighten. And as soon as its ears straightened, we would all say, Swami is coming, Swami is coming. And within 2 minutes or so, Swami would open the interview room door and he would come out and he would take the garland from Sai Gita. That was the focus of Sai Gita. From somewhere in the interview room, Swami has come down from his room to the interview room. Sai Gita could sense his presence. That is how alert that elephant used to be. Waiting for Swami to come, waiting to garland him, and then touching his feet with its trunk. Swami would touch its cheek, feed it, and then come for darshan. Now this Sai Gita, one may not even know these days, I don't know, but whenever Swami used to come to Bangalore, and especially between 70s and 80s, early 70s and also to mid 80s, Swami spent really 80% of the time in Vrindavan, because the college was starting and all of the things that needed to be done for the Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning was going on. So Swami used to spend a lot of time. So whenever Swami used to come back from Parthi to Vrindavan, after the festivals were over, Sai Gita, along with the keeper who used to look after the elephant, would walk from Parthi to Bangalore. The minute Swami's car went away, it would just trumpet and cry till it left Parthi. It would not eat, it would not do anything till that fellow said, the person who was looking after, let us go now to Vrindavan. The following day, it used to take, I don't know, some 24 hours or something to walk from Parthi to Vrindavan. It would walk all the way, not eating or drinking anything till it came to Vrindavan, and till it had Swami's darshan. It would come and stay there, and Swami would immediately go and see Sai Gita, and only then it would eat. This was the love of that Sai Gita. So one particular time, Swami was coming to our house for Akhanda Bhajan. I talked about the Akhanda Bhajan last week. It was a part of our family function for 25 years. After 25 years in 1974, Swami said that it will now become a global Akhanda Bhajan, which will be celebrated all over the world as Akhanda Bhajan, as Namasmarana for the whole world. So till such time, it used to be a family function, and Swami used to come to our house, in the beginning to my aunt's houses and later to my parents' home for Akhanda Bhajan. So we used to go, my father and my brother, and we used to go and bring Swami home for the starting of the Akhanda Bhajan. I remember one particular Akhanda Bhajan, I also had gone. I had the good fortune of traveling in Swami's car till I was almost 13 or 14 years. Swami would allow me to come in his car. So we had gone to bring Swami to the Akhanda Bhajan. And Swami finished giving the morning. We had to leave early because the Akhanda Jyoti Swami himself would light at 10:30 in the morning. In those days, like I said, Thursday through Friday. So Swami was getting ready to leave. And just as the car was ready, the car was parked in the portico. This was the old bungalow. Suddenly, we could hear a loud noise continuously, and Swami came out and said, oh, that Sai Gita knows that I'm leaving. Somehow that elephant knew that Swami was going away for 2 days. He was not going to be there. So it kept on trumpeting and trumpeting and trumpeting. So Swami said, I have to go and talk to her, otherwise she won't eat anything. I will come, just wait, he said. So we all followed Swami to the shed where Sai Gita was there. And as soon as he went, Sai Gita came forward. We would always feel so nervous because Swami was so small and slight and this big elephant. But that elephant was so gentle. Swami tried to feed the rice balls to Sai Gita and said, Gita, I have to go now. He's talking just like he would talk to you and me. I have to go now. There is Akhanda Bhajan. See, so many devotees are waiting for me. I will be back tomorrow evening. You don't have to worry. I will be back. You be a good girl and you eat your food and listen to him. You eat your food. And he tried to feed these rice balls that he had ready, that man who looked after. But Sai Gita was just like a child throwing tantrums. It would not open its mouth. It would turn its face away. It would show that it is not happy with Swami for leaving it behind. And Swami kept on patting. Come on, eat. And Sai Gita just took the trunk and put it around Swami's shoulder and held him close to its body very gently, not hurting Swami, but refused to eat. And Swami kept on. And then finally it said, Swami said, I'm going to be very upset with you. You eat very much like a mother. Finally, it ate one ball of rice or something. And as Swami is moving away, it put its trunk and held him very tightly, not allowing him to move. And I remember Swami's sound, his voice, his beautiful voice saying, Vidu Gita, Vidu Gita, Vaddu Gita, please leave me Gita, not like this Gita, no Gita, allow me to go Gita. Swami is pleading with this elephant, I have to go see the devotees are waiting. It will become late. I have to light the Akhanda Jyoti. All these things he's telling the elephant. And we are all watching. Look at this elephant. It has put its trunk so closely and not allowing him to go. Finally, after a lot of cajoling, I have to go now. You be a Bangaru, you be a good girl. He will look after. I will be back tomorrow correctly in the evening. Don't worry, says. And Swami finally moved away from that Gita. His robe was all full of all the slobber from Gita's saliva when it had refused to eat the food. So Swami had to go back to his room and change his robe and then come to the Akhanda Bhajan. Sarvajana Priyaya Namaha. Everybody loves him. Who doesn't love him? Everybody wants him. Who does not want that Lord? The love for him was so intense in that elephant that Swami himself, with almost tears in his eyes, he moved away. So, brothers and sisters, as I come close to finishing my talk, I just want to leave a thought behind. I know that it is a little bit of serious thinking, but we all have to introspect. We are all saying, why has this happened? Why are so many people suffering? Why is humanity affected in this way? Of course, we have all become one in empathy for each other. Maybe the Lord wanted us to learn to be compassionate to each other. Somewhere far away, if something happens, we think, okay, it has happened there 2 days, we worry about them and forget. So we have developed maybe compassion. But one of the thoughts I want to leave behind today for us to introspect, because it is also Easter Sunday. It is a serious day. It is day when the Lord Jesus came back in spirit as consciousness within us, is what the Bible says. Then we have to think, are we the only people calling him? Help us for coronavirus, help us for SARS virus, help us for this. Aren't those animals? Aren't those creatures? Isn't the whole creation his? Maybe they are all calling out to him. So we have to introspect. In what way have we treated his other creation? In what way have we treated him? Have we been kind and compassionate? Have we been nice to them? Have we spoken kindly to people who are with us? Have we been misusing the resources that God has given? I read somewhere in a WhatsApp message, somebody sent, some elderly gentleman from Italy or somewhere said, I have lived 75 years. I never thanked God for the air that I'm breathing. But now I have recovered from coronavirus. But I had to pay $5,000 or something per day for the ventilator to breathe that air that I have been breathing for 75 years without saying thank you. So have we misused the environment around us? Have we misused all of the resources that the Lord has given us with so much love? Maybe they are all calling out to him, and Swami or the divine energy or God or whatever name you want to give him is saying, all of you, it is time for you to think about what kind of a life you want to live. Do you want to put some ceiling on your desires about how much you want to use, what you want to use, how you want to use it? Maybe he has given us a question to think about. But does that say then, okay, all of the people who are misused are suffering, let them go? Then what about compassion and kindness, which makes us human, which is there within us as innate qualities? Maybe Swami is trying to blossom that so that we, through prayer, through service, through sacrifice, and through love, on this Easter day, we can promise Swami that our lives will change for the better, so that we can live his message, so that somebody like that Alice Jennings will see us and say, I too want to lead my life like this. So I think I have spoken all the thoughts that Swami has given to me today with lots of love, thinking about Sai Gita, whose only purpose in her life was to please Swami, to be a part of him. If we can all become another Sai Gita, then Priyaya Namaha. Everybody loves Swami, but he too loves all of us. We will find a response in our prayers when we pray to him. With these words, I will thank you all, wish you all a very happy Easter again. I thank all of the organizers in UK for taking the trouble today to set up all of this program for me to speak. This www, as Swami says, it's a world wide web. Swami had told my sons, www, world wide web. Don't become a spider and get caught in there. Use the www, do work and earn wisdom through work, he had told them. So that www, I hope we can all change in the way we interact with everybody and the environment around us. And with these words, I'll say Jai Sai Ram.